Continuing coverage now on the tragedy at Molson Coors. These 5 lives were cut short after police say a gunman opened fire on Wednesday.
We're joined now by Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes. And Lieutenant Governor, thank you very much for being here. I know you were on the scene shortly after the mass shooting. What did you see and learn from there? And have you learned anything new in the 48 hours that have passed?
It was definitely one of the more sobering scenes that I've ever been a part of. Unfortunately, that scale of loss of life right in the middle of our community is something that is going to stick with me for a very long time. So we went to first responders immediately. They kind of gave us a quick briefing of what was going on the scene. They laid out exactly what had happened, what the scene was at Molson Coors. But in the last 48 hours, I don't have anything new that you all don't have. I think that community is still just reeling from this tragedy, just trying to, one, answer questions, get answers, but also figure out how to move forward.
What questions do you have?
The same as every other mass shooting, right? Like, it's not like there's a unique question that we should be asking now. It's the biggest question is, why do we continue to let this happen in the United States of America?
Why is this? It shouldn't be the norm. You talked about that the day.
Well, absolutely, and it becomes the norm too. Like, so many people look at this thing and say, well, if you're not here, obviously, people who are local are very much impacted, but around the country, it's another mass shooting, one in a series of so many others. This is the 11th here in Wisconsin since 2004. And that is one of my biggest fears, bigger fears, this happening again in our community. But the biggest, even a bigger fear than that is the fact that it won't faze anybody at some point. People will just look at it and think this is just the way that it is. If you look at, I remember you would get notifications on your phone if there was a car bombing or something in the Middle East, and like these things, they seem commonplace and they keep happening. And other countries look at us and see mass shootings happen time and time again. And this becomes very much associated with American life, and it's not fair.
Lot of conversation around gun violence. Let me show you something that Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald said shortly after this, saying today's act of evil in Milwaukee is tragic. My heart goes out to the victims and their families as we continue to monitor the developments. I'm thankful for the law enforcement and emergency response personnel on scene working tirelessly. How do we know what we need to do since we don't know much about the shooter and what happened there? But the governor has been very clear about the need for red flag laws and more background checks.
Well, absolutely. And, he can, like, those sort of statements are unfortunate because they can do way more than put out a statement. Putting out a statement is a cop-out, especially when you have the power, when you control such a significant majority in the legislature. You have a responsibility to act.
But we don't know act in what way, at least maybe not in this situation, because we don't know.
Right, you don't know. However, this isn't the first shooting that's taken place in our state. Like, this is the problem. The problem is that gun violence is so much ingrained into American culture. The problem is that gun violence happens every day, because just because there wasn't a mass shooting doesn't mean there wasn't another shooting somewhere or another preventable tragedy. This is one in a series of so many, and the fact that so many people continue to just spill out these platitudes in the face of tragedy when they have the power to act is what we should all be frustrated with as a society. We should not, we shouldn't accept the fact that gun violence is becoming the reality. 2, we shouldn't accept the fact that people will give up and not do anything about it, especially when they have the power to do so.
And we will watch this going forward to see if change comes, but we do appreciate you coming here
Thank
to
you.
share the story.
Thank you.